Donald Trump's plan to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve has sparked massive expectations. Some people talk about 500,000, maybe even 1 million USD per BTC as a result of this reserve. But the real question is this actually realistic? And what are the implications of such a Bitcoin reserve? Would it actually impact the Bitcoin price? In this video, we want to talk about how such a Bitcoin reserve could be implemented, which effect it might have on the economy, financial markets, and most importantly, if the Elliott Wave chart analysis actually supports the target of 1 million USD per Bitcoin. Let's go. Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Ben and I'm the founder of MCO Global. Here on this channel we talk about cryptocurrencies, different asset classes, stocks, even precious metals, and we take a look at the charts from an Elliott Wave point of view. Now, today we want to talk about Donald Trump and the strategic Bitcoin reserve in the US. Without a doubt, Donald Trump is pushing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. This could legitimize Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset worldwide. The USA already hold 200,000 BTC, round about 21 million USD, and they could accumulate much more. Now, Bitcoin has already reached $100,000. Bitcoin is actually at record highs. The question is, would such a Bitcoin reserve lead to a massive super cycle that could take Bitcoin maybe to $1 million? And could we even move outside of the realms of the standard 4-year cycle that many people expect? We want to take a look at that. Now, before we dive into the charts, the question is, why does it actually matter? Why does this strategic reserve matter? Well, the USA as a superpower, as a world superpower, would be the first world superpower to actually implement such a strategic reserve. And it could completely reshape how countries see BTC. Now I want to show you this article. This obviously came out this week. It's already a few days old, but I thought it is an interesting topic. A lot of you have asked for it. It's about the US now studying the feasibility of the US Bitcoin reserve. I would argue a lot of people don't even know, oh yeah, they might have heard about it. What are the USA doing? Are they already buying BTC? So no, it's actually a little bit of a process. Now, first of all, they're only exploring it. I mean, that was one of Trump's promises, and they haven't confirmed exact numbers yet. But there are proposals for the US to buy over the course of 5 years, 200,000 BTC per year, eventually leading to 1 million BTC as part of the US Treasury, as a reserve asset, just next to gold, for example. Well, first of all, Trump could just issue an executive order. They just have to do it. He just implements it that way. The problem is, if that's happening, the next president, whoever it might be, could just reverse that. So the method 2 would essentially be to pass it as law through congressional approval, but it would take longer. So there will be this period of uncertainty. And obviously the Congress would have to approve it. It would have to be made law. There's a process. It can take quite some time. And then as a third starting point, and then as a third method, they could just start to use the BTC that they already hold. I think it's around 200,000 from seized BTC from illegal activities. And they could just use that as a starting point to initially fund the reserve. They don't actually have to buy something. They already hold that. But still, they need to decide which way they want to go through executive order, which would be fast, but could easily be reversed. And then the next step would be to pass it as law, or the alternative step, but again, it takes longer and there's just a process behind it. Now, why do people actually hope for a Bitcoin strategic reserve? Because it would most likely, well, it would just lift Bitcoin to the next level, essentially, if USA as a superpower do this. Essentially, it would also reduce the available BTC on the market. People hope that through this, the prices will go up long term. Now, the thing is, if the US start this, it would reduce the supply on the open market. Other countries would most likely follow. It would pressurize probably other countries to follow, reducing ultimately available supply even more. That might create FOMO, not only among nations, countries, but also among traders and investors. So ideally, if we're really talking long term, you want to be positioned before everybody starts to FOMO in on a high level, on a massive level. Now, we already see a lot of institutions are starting to adopt BTC. Already it started last cycle, it continued this cycle. It would essentially, I think, trigger a new wave of institutional involvement as well. Now, before we really dive into the Bitcoin charts long term, to take a look at the long-term patterns and to discuss whether a 1 million BTC price is actually realistic, given this sort of background information, I want to talk about Bitcoin dominance a little bit, because a lot of people expected, and I've been watching for that as well, but so far there hasn't really been a clear signal for that. A lot of people expected a so-called altcoin season. Now, Bitcoin dominance, if you don't know what it is, it shows you the relationship between Bitcoin and altcoin market cap, essentially. And the higher it goes, the more you could say Bitcoin is leading, right? Now, the market is completely flooded with altcoins with basically no fundamental value. And Bitcoin is still leading the way. You can say that Bitcoin is still holding a very high position on the Bitcoin dominance chart. Now, you would think that logically, with all these altcoins coming into play, it should go down, doesn't it? With all those great projects and everything. Realistically, and let's be honest, most altcoin projects don't hold any fundamental value. There are some that are really good, that are really useful, and they hold actually utility value. But overall, the vast majority of coins, I'm convinced, will die. So they will die. There are millions of coins. Money is just diluted. The altcoin space is an absolute mess. People have lost trust. Yeah, that's also, I believe, why in this cycle Bitcoin is leading. In addition to that, we are in a different game right now. We see adoption through nations. We see adoption through ETFs, institutions, and so on. They are interested in BTC. They are not interested so much into altcoins. Well, in a few, right, but not really into the vast altcoin space, right? So we have seen in this cycle, from when this cycle started in 2022, constant outperformance. So Bitcoin has outperformed altcoins significantly, and there is currently no sign that this will stop. I will not rule out that this continues to go up further. I mean, until really the altcoins start to catch up, and this could happen within just a window of a few weeks, that actually an altcoin season happens at some point. But until we see a strong downtrend, Bitcoin continues to be leading. Now, why do I show you this? Because should the US go that way, it will just continue to go up, won't it? I mean, that is going to be my view, because it's going to be next level from an adoption point of view and acceptance, right? Acceptance for BTC as a reserve asset, not necessarily as a currency. I mean, those experiments, they haven't really been very successful in El Salvador, let's be honest. Now, let's take a look at the altcoin. Now, let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart long term. I want to give you a long-term outlook. And is it actually realistic to talk about a 1 million Bitcoin price, 1 million USD, or even higher? And people always look for reasons, right? So I find it quite interesting, especially on this channel, to look for certain catalysts. But what our perspective is as MCO, and from an Elliott Wave point of view, a lot of Elliott Wave analysts would agree with that, is that market movements are dictated by market sentiment. And we can identify that sentiment in the charts by using the Elliott Wave method. It is an analysis method that works based on market sentiment, and it's always the pattern in 5 waves in the trend direction, 3 waves as a counter trend move. And we see reasons, people are always looking for reasons only as catalysts. So it's the market sentiment as underlying factor. But if there is, for example, a news event, a fundamental event that hits and collides with the right sentiment. So fundamental event, sentiment, if they collide, that can create a massive shift in the market. So let's take a look at this. I want to show you 2 charts that I've got long-term for Bitcoin. This is the long-term perspective, overall chart, pretty much the weekly time frame. And my perspective is that we are in a process of wrapping up a long-term rally, probably in the area around $130,000. Now, this is a long-term perspective, but what we normally say is that after a cycle of 5 waves, and this is starting at 2018 low, after a cycle of 5 waves, we get a correction. And we should get this correction as an A, B, C structure. And this could be a massive correction. This is one scenario. I'm not saying this is exactly what's playing out, but reality is I see Bitcoin as already pretty much in a topping area, because most of this rally is already done on the larger scale. Now, on the smaller scale from 2022, also we can see a smaller time frame or smaller degree 5-wave move up. And we are now in this topping area, and the price is consolidating here just below an important Fibonacci level. These Fibonacci levels, they are essentially just a mathematical representation of market sentiment. And we know that somewhere in these areas, and there's a target area here, between 107,000 to 190,000, you might say that's a huge area. It is, but consider that where Bitcoin is actually coming from. And my next target is 130,000. I don't assume that Bitcoin has formed the top at this stage, but it could be the case. So we are in a high risk area from a long-term point of view. Ultimately, what I want to highlight here is, okay, how can Bitcoin go down with those bullish news like a strategic reserve? Now think about it. My thesis is that we're in an area where a long-term top should form. I would like to see one more high, maybe towards 130,000. It can go higher. I'm not going to confirm a top until we actually break support. We always go with the trend, right? On the smaller time frame especially. But we are now in a high risk area. So people say it can't happen, we have to get another altcoin season, Bitcoin has to go higher. I could see it potentially go to $190,000 in this scenario. Can I promise it? No, we will take it level by level in this area. But when there are bullish news and the price isn't going up anymore, and that is very much related to sentiment, that is when bear markets start. So my thesis is a bear market, or at least a large correction, is around the corner. This is one scenario. And how would it unfold? It would unfold as an ABC structure, typical corrective pattern. But because this is likely going to be a wave 4, this corrective rally could overshoot and could catch a lot of people out. It could even lead to a new all-time high. This will be the initial crash, correction, maybe into the 50,000 region, and would, in my opinion, be a buyable dip. Okay, so you might ask, what has that have to do with the strategic reserve? Well, again, it is one scenario. I mean, we haven't really seen approval yet, okay? And as I said, there is certain downside with executive orders. There is probably a lot of making it law, but that will take time. So until we really get this as law and the US can really start doing it and accumulating Bitcoin, there isn't going to be that strong pressure on the price, I believe. So while people hope for that, right, but that's pretty much at the end of bullish cycles, people hope for the price to go on, carry on, that's why many people hold their bags, even into bear markets. But that is ideal sentiment for a long-term top. And then maybe in this process, at some point, we get the approval, and that approval could be a catalyst for one of these moves. But I think it will have more than anything else, it will have long-term implications. It's not that when the US buy, they will move the price. They won't. By the way, if you were wondering why would the USA not move the price if they buy all of these BTCs? Well, guess what? MicroStrategy also don't move the price when they buy BTC. Let me know if you are interested in a video about this topic, why this happens. Why can institutions buy and not move the price? Different to what many people think. But yeah, I mean, it will have more like an effect on sentiment. But from an Elliott Wave point of view, we know that sentiment will probably go bullish again here and here. Or let's say the market will turn around to the upside in these areas. Yeah, this is actually, markets will bottom out when the sentiment is actually bearish. So there will likely be bearish news. Remember FTX? That's when the market bottomed out. And then the market will move up and there will be a lot of FOMO and so on. But I think it will have long-term implications. So from a long-term point of view, the wave count, once this large correction is over, definitely supports a rally to 1 million and above. Yeah, this would be a fifth wave that I see it even go to 1 million to 3 million USD long-term. Look, it might take a decade or something, right? Now, this is one scenario. This is a scenario where everything takes a little bit more time, where the wave 4 is pretty much a bear market, crypto winter. It might take a few years, 2-3 years. Yeah, it will be very, very ugly. But bear in mind, even in a bear market, yeah, in a Bitcoin bear market, there are opportunities. This B wave could even create a new all-time high. What we very often see in a fourth wave. Now, there is an alternative scenario I'm tracking which is more bullish, more aggressively bullish. And you might say, okay, but how do I know which one it is? Well, we don't, but we want to prepare for both. And I'll tell you how we could do that. In this long-term chart, the rally that we've seen from the 2022 low to the current high area, price topping area, is actually a wave 1. It's not a wave 5 which ends something. It is a wave 1 which starts something. So different interpretations apply here. I need to track both because I want to be prepared for that. So essentially time will tell which of these scenarios it is going to be. But this here would be an accelerated bullish scenario. And in both scenarios, we're watching for a larger correction, right? And then a third wave rally could send us directly higher, which is why in both scenarios, I think it would be reasonable to accumulate after the initial crash. I think a lot of people will panic sell then. Now, I would argue that it makes more sense to be at least prepare for this sell-off. That might mean to raise some cash, have it prepared. A lot of people won't. A lot of people will be overexposed now, high risk, over leveraged, and they will have to panic sell down here where there might be some bearish news. But this is typically when markets bottom out, and those who are prepared could accumulate here and could participate in a rally that could send us in the first instance to around about 300,000 and then maybe even 1 million. But again, it will still take time. But this is what people would refer to as super cycle. I can tell you that from our chart point of view, our chart analysis point of view, I call this the alternative scenario, but it is a reasonable scenario. I would call it at the moment the second most likely one. And there might just be that catalyst that will make this at some point the primary count, and that could be the strategic Bitcoin reserve. It depends on what happens, but it would most likely have a positive impact on the market. I think we all agree there. Let me know if you don't agree, but it would have a long-term positive impact on the market price-wise. Okay, prices will go up and there will be a lot of upside pressure probably. And this would be the third wave I talked about as a so-called FOMO wave, the fear of missing out. Now, from an Elliott Wave point of view, you want to avoid that FOMO. You want to avoid the fear of missing out, which is why we typically suggest to be positioned in a wave 2 support area. Then you can just lean back and let the rally unfold. So yeah, that's the update. Just wanted to give you a good idea of how the long-term time frame looks like for Bitcoin. Hope you liked the update. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Let me know in the comments which other topics would interest you, specifically with regards to cryptos, but also other assets. What would be interesting also from a geopolitical or economic point of view. That's exactly the channel for that. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.